Director Wray, the FBI has been accused of political bias recently against the president by the president himself. In fact, he said the FBI's reputation is, quote, in tatters. Do you think the FBI's reputation is in any way in tatters? And are you confident in the independence of your agents?
Senator, there's no shortage of opinions about our agency, just like every other agency up here and just like the Congress. I can only speak from my experience. And
I hope you're doing better than the Congress.
And my experience has been that every office I go to, every division I go to has patriots, people who could do anything else with their careers but have chosen to work for the FBI because they believe in serving others. And the feedback I get from our state and local law enforcement partners, from our foreign partners, from the folks we work with in the private sector and the community, office after office after office has been very, very gratifying and reassuring to me. And I'm a big believer in the idea that the FBI speaks through its work, through its cases, through the victims it protects. And I encourage our folks not to get too hung up on what I consider to be the noise on TV and in social media.
So you haven't seen any evidence of some sort of inherent political bias in the agency?
No.
How do statements like that impact the morale of rank-and-file agents, or are they able to shake that off?
Well, we have 37,000 people. They're all individuals. They all think in their own way. But I guess I would say that our people are very mission-focused. They're accustomed to the fact that we do some of the hardest things there are to do for a living. And I like to think that our folks are pretty sturdy. I think of a woman I met just the other day, an agent in the Miami office who had a bad accident, 12 stitches in her face, and the next day, boom, right back at work. I think about the folks in the San Juan office that I visited recently. You want to talk about people going through a real storm.
Right.
They do it, and they're out in the community. And I can tell you the community values what they do on the island.
Thank you. An op-ed by a number of former intelligence analysts called the Nunes memo and its release, quote, one of the worst cases of politicization of intelligence in modern American history, end quote. You said you had concerns about that memo. I know you can't get into the gritty details of that, but can you say in your view whether or not one of those concerns is that it may have selectively cherry-picked information without presenting the entire fact pattern that led up to that FISA warrant application?
Well, Senator, I would just repeat what we said at the time, which is that we had then and continue to have now grave concerns about the accuracy of the memorandum because of omissions. We provided thousands of documents that were very sensitive and lots of briefings, and it's very hard for anybody to distill all that down to 3.5 pages.
Right. Director Pompeo, have you seen Russian activity in the lead up to the 2018 election cycle?
Yes. So I paused only. I'm trying to make sure and stay on the unclassified side. Yes, we have seen Russian activity and intentions to have an impact on the next election cycle here.
Director Coates?
Yes, we have.
Anyone else? Admiral Rogers?
Yes, and I think this would be a good topic to get into greater
this
detail in this
Great.
afternoon.
According to news reports, there are dozens of White House staff with only interim security clearances still, to include Jared Kushner until last week, to include White House Staff Secretary Rob Porter, who I would assume would have regularly reviewed classified documents as part of his job. Director Coates, if someone is flagged by the FBI with areas of concern in their background investigations into White House staff with interim clearances, should those staff continue to have access to classified materials?
Let me first just speak in general relative to temporary classifications. Clearly, with the new administration in particular, we're trying to fill a lot of new slots. And the classification process and security clearance process, as has been mentioned.
Yeah, I'm only speaking with regard to folks who may have had issues raised, as opposed to just being in the matter, of course, of going through a long process.
Well, I'm not in a position, and we can talk about this in the classified session, but I'm not in a position to discuss what individual situations are for specified individuals. I might just say that. I think sometimes it is necessary to have some type of preliminary clearance in order to fill a slot. But I have publicly stated, if that is the case, the access has to be limited in terms of the kind of information they can be in a position to receive or not receive. So I think that's something that we have to do as a part of our security clearance review. The process is broken. It needs to be reformed. It doesn't, as Senator Warner has previously said, it's not evolution, it's revolution. We have 700,000 backups. So we have situations where we need people in places, but they don't yet have that. Your specific question, I think I'd like to take up in the classified session.
Chairman, I'm over my time. Thank you, Director Coates.